Welcome to the Splitting Hairs podcast. Long time no see. For those of you who missed us last week, it was improvement week. We were getting better just like the Jacks were getting better. What's up, Stack? How's it going?
And I'm chilling, ready to watch the Missouri Valley play kickoff. I'm excited for it for sure.
Right now, the real season starts to get underway. No more light, somewhat cupcake teams on the schedule, and some that weren't, obviously, in Montana
Yeah.
State. But it's nice to really get into the meat of the schedule and see how things shake out. But before we do that, of course, we must thank our title sponsors, Cottonwood Coffee and Bistro out of Brookings, South Dakota. You know the drill. They've been with us since the beginning. It is fall, so their fall menus are going to start to roll out here. Look for their tomato bisque and some of their different seasonal themed items. Of course, you know they got pumpkin spice something because everybody's on that train still, but theirs is a bit more artisan, shall we say. Um, Definitely go check out the bistro for some eats, get some schoolwork done, studies in. Same thing on Main. And then, of course, don't forget their e-commerce. Great coffee shouldn't be complicated, so they'll help you save on subscription if you want auto draft. That way you can get your orders direct to your door. Free shipping on orders over 20. You can also take a coffee quiz, so that way you know what fits best with your palate. Me personally, I love the Ethiopian roast. Can't go wrong with that. If you want less liquid and just a quick pick me up, obviously go with their espresso roast as well. And they roast all in house too. So even better. And with that, let's dive into it, Stack. We put it on Drake. It was cool to
Yeah.
see you. It was a great experience. Just let's recap some thoughts on that. What was it like for you?
I mean, it was really cool seeing, a lot of the parents of the guys I played with and a lot of the guys after the game. Being in a stadium like that didn't seem to affect the guys at all. They really played their asses off. It was good to see. One thing I actually did want to say, and this is based on like the last few weeks, for those of you guys out there that's a little bit like disappointed, like, oh, well, we don't have a lot of sacks and D line's not playing like they were before. I think a lot of that is based on like, these coaches get paid a lot of money too. So like these are also good coaches we're playing against. Like I rewatched a few of the games, a lot of it's like full slide, quick pass, like, even if it were Caleb Sanders or Danny Batten, shout out to him for just getting in the Jackrabbit Hall of Fame. But like, even if it were your all-time great D lineman at South Dakota State, like you're not getting sacks on some of these plays, and that's a credit to like a lot of the coaches knowing that like, wait a minute, this D line we're playing is legit. So like, we're not just gonna sit there and go, all right, our guys are better than your guys, because 99% of the guys I think in the nation are not. So you're kind of disappointed and waiting for some of the D linemen to go off. I believe that once we get to the Missouri Valley play, you're going to see better O linemen. You're going to see them get blocked one on one. We'll really see what our guys are about then. So you won't be seeing all the gadgets and gadget plays. Maybe you will this week because it's UND, but you won't be seeing a lot of that full slide and all that. These coaches are more confident in the O linemen they have. They're going to say, okay, if you're gonna sack us, like you're gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to show us that you're better than our guys before we start doing all these other plays.
Yeah, no, you bring up some good points. Again, first, shout out to Danny Batten, my former teammate. Incredible honor. That's two teammates I played with now that are in the Hall of Fame. First, Kyle Manette, unbelievable running back. Kind of gets overshadowed. That dude could do it all. I've watched him literally drive, block, and bury people 15, 20 yards downfield. Uh, Texas State, Stephen F. Austin. Texas State, a team that's FBS now. So Kyle could play with the best of them. He'd put you in a spin cycle, but sometimes you'd have to unhitch the trailer because he get caught late, but that dude could ball, man. I tell you what, he's a great running back. And then Danny Batten, man, like that dude, his motor just never stopped. He could play 3-4 linebacker. He could play DN. He could, spy quarterbacks. That dude was just a gamer. And, it was great to see him getting drafted by the Bills. Season career kind of got cut short a little bit due to injury. That kind of happens to the best of them, but still awesome to see him enter the Hall. So that's great. Excited to see him get honored, I believe, this weekend. That was
Yeah.
shared by the JFPA. So shout out to him. And I couldn't agree with you more. It's a function of game planning. They're trying to nullify the defensive line, so they're getting the ball out quick, a lot of quick perimeter shots. Or, what do you do when you have good defensive linemen like Micah Parsons? You saw the Arizona Cardinals. If you guys got to check that game out, Micah Parsons is wreaks havoc on anybody he plays. So in order to nullify that activity, they kind of ran right at it. That's what happened with Montana State. They tried to run at it, and it was the responsibility of the linebackers to flow over the top and really clean it up. Obviously, we have improvements that we can make that were made too going into improvement week or bye week, as most people know it as. So I would expect to see a lot of that get cleaned up, especially with the chain gang. Stack, talk to me about your experience with bye weeks. You're fresher on it. What would you guys work on?
I mean, with Coach Smith, it'd be a lot of just like work drilling technique, and you get some good on good in a bye week also. Granted, I don't know kind of how Coach Rogers runs it, and I know knowing him, like he's probably getting the guys' bodies back and getting them better. But I think a lot of it was just like one seeing younger guys play, younger guys getting live reps because as you go through the season, it could get really mundane if you're like a freshman. You're like, well, I'm just doing scout team all the time, and I just gotta. I'm not even playing our defense. I'm just playing another team's defense, and you kind of get like the scout bowl going where the younger guys get to play against each other and really go head to head and show what they have. So bye weeks are always fun, just to really get your body back and really see what some guys really have.
Exactly. And speaking of getting guys back, looks like Bach is coming back this week along with Jaden. Jaden maybe had a little hamstring tweak, something to that effect. I know Bach was dealing with a lower leg injury, foot, ankle injury, something to of that sort. So we'll see kind of what happens here coming out of that, seeing how fresh our guys are. I know the good part about playing Drake previously and getting up on him big is we did get to see a lot of those younger guys show out. That was really exciting to see them kind of take another step, get game reps under their belt, live action reps against other colors. So that was cool to see. Anybody stand out to you from the defensive perspective?
I mean, granted, of course, I'm always watching D-line, but I really liked how Logan Green played. I think he's a redshirt freshman, but he's a guy I saw. I think it was my last year at South Dakota State, and he was at one of our camps, and like I just really like the physicality he played with. Like he's just like he reminds me of Caden Johnson, but like more jacked. So like he's playing in the middle. But I think he has a really good grasp on like how to play D line. Like at that time, obviously, as like a 17, 18-year-old, you're not going to have like the footwork and everything you need and the hand speed and all that. But I think I really enjoyed watching him play. Like I think he's down in the middle, and he's going to be a guy that maybe at the later this year or even next year when guys like Ryan Van Marley is going to be a guy that the Jacks really have to lean on in the middle. So I'm excited to watch him play more.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody in the secondary or at second level defense that you like?
Uh
That comes
oh,
to mind?
dude, I feel so bad because I forgot his name. Oh, 46 though, linebacker. Oh, I like how he
Yeah,
plays. Cause he be putting the wood
he
on
was
people,
balling
bro.
too. Yeah, you know what? He's so young. I got to get his name. But he was flying around out there.
Yeah, he be laying the wood on people, man. He's fun to watch. I forgot his name though, and I feel
He
bad
had
because I
those.
have met him before. My bad, bro. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, was it not 46 right here, but Joe Ullman, Adam, not Adam, but Aaron Kusler stepping up too as well.
Oh
Just
yeah.
seeing him play is cool. Got the flow coming out the back of his helmet. That's always fun to see. But Cullen McShane, yeah, McShane was flying
Yes.
around.
Yes.
Yeah, man, number 46, he was balling out there. Exciting stuff to see, and then the offensive line took another step. That was cool to see.
I
Uh,
think so
you
as
know,
well.
Gus Miller getting up the set. He has played. I agree with Matt Zimmer for Sioux Falls Live. He has played his best football so far. Hopefully can continue to take that step. No yips in the snapping game. And that's hard, when you're identifying the defensive fronts and the mic and what they're throwing at you. But he's really getting up on the second level really good. He's got good feet. Obviously being a really elite wrestler in the state of South Dakota, that's only going to serve him well. Knowing how to play with leverage and really getting up to second level is pivotal for an offensive line, especially when we run the quarterback and we got really good backs like Amar and Isaiah. So that's excellent to see. Um, I think some of the other linemen that got in there, Jalen Lee, uh, who else stood out off the
Yeah,
top?
I'm really excited for Jay Lee. It's a guy I went to high school with. I'm
Mhm.
like really good friends with his older brother. Like we all played grade school football together. And just, like I know it's in a rough spot because you're behind someone like Mason McCormick and, Evan Bernstein and guys that have played a lot more football. But that is the guy for next year. I'm really excited to see how he plays.
And for all the talk, in my opinion, like I don't love a softer out of conference schedule, but I do need to credit the administration because you don't need to load up out of conference schedule anymore, especially the way the committee voted. So I think when you look at teams like UC Davis, I've tweeted out about, they had a stacked out of conference schedule last year, and that's a quality playoff team that didn't get the nod as an at-large bid because they had such a stacked out of conference schedule, right? So it didn't serve them heading into conference play. For us, we do have a non-qualifying game. Hopefully we can wipe out those D2 games, maybe get some more Pioneer, Patriot, whatever other conferences in the FCS want to enter the fold when it comes to scheduling Missouri Valley foes. That would be nice. But moving forward, I do think it's a smart play. And then more so to get these younger guys reps because, I mean, we already have long seasons. You never know when your bye week's going to come. I think it came at a good time this year for us.
Yeah.
Last year, there was a lot of controversy about, well, man, now we got multiple weeks before our first round game. And I think it served us well, especially getting these young guys reps more early in the season and not just waiting to that playoff time where they get that extended practice schedule. I think that's going to pay dividends here moving forward.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's Drake. And the reason I kind of wanted to recap them as well, because I was traveling. So hopefully everybody got a chance to consume some of that content we put out there with Mr. Gronowski. Stack and I did an interview with him. That was a really fun one just to kind of get a glimpse into his playing days in the historical Missouri Valley Football Conference, which is separate. That was the Missouri Valley Conference, which is separate from the new reboot of a completely different conference of the Missouri Valley Football Conference that we're in. But it was cool to kind of get insights into how it all worked back then and kind of see some of the overlap with Mark. So y'all check that out. Also, if you haven't checked it out, go to splittinghairsmedia.substack.com. Check out Scott Wagner's pieces that he's got. He's doing a great job on the blog. I've got some as well out there. One of the ones to check out is 21 questions for the 2023 SDSU football team, because that's a really in-depth piece where I kind of cover some things to look at and look out for throughout the course of the season. So that'll be something you can kind of revisit. But moving forward, it's Missouri Valley play, baby.
Oh yeah.
What's your take on the effing Hawks, the Undies, formerly known as Fighting Sioux?
I think they have really good coaching over there. So like I'm not about to get on here and give them a bunch of billboard material like but I think they got really good coaching. They know how to use their players. I think their quarterback is really dynamic, and I think he is a legit baller. So there's no love lost between us. So like I'm not a big fan of him. I don't like him very much, and I think if you've seen probably any of my tweets, like you probably know that. But I think this is a good football team rolling in there. Dynamic quarterback. Their defense always brings a lot of exotic blitzes, so I know our offense will be ready for that. But I mean, they're not like the biggest team or the fastest, but like they are one of the most well coached because I think they know how to utilize what they have the best at it, probably anyone in the conference.
That's a phenomenal point, man. I'm so glad you brought that up because they're so annoying. It's like the old wing T offenses you would see from the academies or historically from your Cal Polys, where you're just like, man, you're going to run this crap, this triple option garbage. That's not what they do offensively. But because they have kind of the undersized bodies, the scat type bodies out there on the perimeter at the skill positions in the secondary at the linebacker level, they're going to do some exotic things from blitzing, from slants, from stemming, moving guys around to get you off schedule from an offensive perspective. And I think a lot of that has to do with their inability to cover one-on-one downfield, right? So a lot of times there's a couple approaches to blitzing. You either blitz because you're capable of it and you do it really well, or you blitz to cover some blemishes wherever they may be in the secondary. That's how I kind of was brought up learning about the game. They definitely do it because they are undersized and they want to be aggressive and attack you. And their defensive coordinator is a first-year defensive coordinator guy who played for them, had several turnovers against Texas Tech back when they first played an FBS squad. So something to kind of look at. I know a lot of the Dakota schools like to keep hires in the family, like we hired, Coach Rogers.
Yeah.
North Dakota State has promoted from within, and you look at North Dakota doing the same. Coach Schleissner was back there with them a while. Now he's on at Idaho with Coach Eck. But, this was a historical dominant program in D2, along with the Bison. So they're definitely someone we can't take lightly. They're kind of a thorn in our side schematically.
Yeah.
This is the only team that's beaten Mark at the FCS level. And it was more a function of some of the stuff they do in different phases, right? We'll get into it. But I think you were playing in that game, right, in the spring?
Yeah, and this is like I said earlier, this is another one of those teams where, granted, when I was playing, they did have a tackle that I believe went to the league who was a
Got
great
drafted.
player, but yeah, but across the
Yeah.
board, their offensive line is not like, okay, we're gonna like they're not stupid. They're not gonna say, hey, we're gonna put our 280-pound guard on your 290-pound D tackle. Like they'll full slide it, they'll boot the quarterback out, and like just
Exactly.
stuff like that where, hey, this guy's good. Okay, how good are you without him? You know what I'm saying? So, and
Yep.
I can only respect that. Is also, when I was coaching last year, like that's just being smart. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to be stupid and have it be like a nuts measuring contest or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you're trying to win this football game. So, as lame as I might think that is a very smart move.
Yeah, it's like, the fly at the barbecue that just won't stop bugging you, right? That's the type of
Yeah.
offensive scheme that I think they have, and defensively as well. But again, it's a credit to them for knowing their personnel and coaching to it accordingly. We used to call it elephants on parade. Coach Sarvis,
Yeah.
our D line coach, used to call it where you see hip, they all kind of follow each other in unison, and their role in the pocket, because even though they have addressed some of their size limitations, they have gotten bigger. They've brought a lot of people in from the transfer portal. We'll talk about that from the defensive side of the ball, but offensively they have gotten a bit bigger in the drawers, in the pants. So that's obviously a step forward historically, because they have been a little lighter. They're pretty long. I think they go about 6'5", 6'6" average across the board in height. So they're going to be lanky. I'm looking forward for us from a defensive perspective to take a step up, beat them to the point if they're moving the pocket, and get some sacks. And if nothing more, affect Schuster, who's really good at playing off schedule and kind of in chaotic environments, extending the plays and doing some things like that. But I think if we can hit him, we can force him into some of those errant throws.
Yeah. I also, we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up their special teams game.
Yep.
They are legit on special teams. I think,
Yep.
the way their punt block unit comes after punts, I think they blocked because they blocked one last year, right?
They blocked one of our punts last year, and
Yeah.
they faked one. They faked one in 2020 that
20,
got us. That kind of hurt us.
yeah, they blocked one that year too when we
Yeah.
were up there and we lost with Mark. Their special teams legit, and I already know Coach Ron Pavlik gonna have it on lock for us. But it's probably one of the better special teams units across the board that we're gonna see this year. So it's really gonna be like a good test to see like what our guys are really about. Like I think we had that special teams lapse in the Montana State game, so obviously they saw that they're gonna probably try and come after it, and I already know Ron's got it on lock. So it's going to be good to see how our guys respond to a special
Yeah,
teams unit that's dominant.
and it was very, very encouraging also to continue to see us take a step forward in the special teams phase when we had Tucker Large returning 4 punts for 149 yards. It's a hell of an
Yeah,
average. Again, it's against Drake. Bit of a different element
yeah,
that we're playing there,
for
but at
sure.
the same time, you still got to produce. You can't just, put it down on paper and expect it to happen. So
Yeah,
that was exciting to see. I know Coach Cashmore is going to have us locked and loaded as well. So it should be exciting to see. Want to touch on some offensive weapons they've got that we need to kind of keep an eye out for. Garrett Mogg is gone. He graduated and he's off. He was a receiving threat for them. But another guy that we've heard the name of plenty over the years is Bo Belquist. I believe he's a number switch this year to number 1. Solid receiver, also returns punts. So you got to look out for that as well. He's pretty shifty, does have explosiveness in the return game, and then does run pretty solid routes. He's number 1. Quincy Vaughn is a guy you got to keep an eye on. He's their Wildcat formation quarterback, but also he's switched now to tight end. He's embraced that change. He was number 14. He's transitioned to number 4. From a running back perspective, Skokna is a guy we've heard. I believe he's number 7. Yeah, Luke Skokna. He's more of a scat back. He does show up a little bit in the pass game as well on some screens and some flares out in the flat. You're going to see him. And then I want to say it's Seigel. He's the bigger running back that they've that's really gotten some play. Last year, if you remember, and you'll remember because you played against him, maybe even at both places, but certainly at UNI, Hoosman. They had Tyler Hoosman transfer from UNI. He was the bigger back. Zybarth, that's the kid, 6 foot 205. Gavin Zybarth, he's really come on pretty well. He's a sophomore. Skokna is probably a senior. Yeah, Skokna is a senior. He's an Illinois kid. And then you have Zeigel. Zeigel's the one who's getting more of the run that teams are going to want to look out for, that we're going to have. Zybarth, he's the one that we're going to have to probably, wrap up, bring the wood, a little bit bigger back. But, again, they've got some weapons offensively. They've got some scat type ability, and then they run a lot of gadget plays, right? They ran a double pass, I believe, that was on Sports Center, top 10 plays to start the year. I want to say against Drake. So I watched a little bit of the Drake game because that's a like opponent. Pretty typical stuff. What I expected defensively, they brought a lot at Drake. A lot of blitzing, a lot of slanting, a lot of cross action with linebackers and DNs, exchanging responsibilities. So a lot of the typical stuff that you'll see. And then offensively, moving the pocket, and again, gadget plays like we talked about. But one thing to address, at least from a defensive side of the ball, which we can get into since we kind of covered the offense. Well, we should harp more on Tommy Schuster first. Schuster is a seasoned quarterback. He can produce. He kept them close in their game against Boise State. He's just a good player. Number 2, he's an undersized kid, but he does a really good job at extending plays. He's pretty accurate, right? What would you say? What's your take? I mean, you played him literally personally. So what's your take on Tommy?
I mean, I think, and this isn't to say anything about anyone else on their offense, but I think like they go as he goes. You know what I mean? Like, and I think he is a really dynamic player. Like I remember being out there sometimes where you're about to hit him, and like I'm much taller than he is, and I'm like, how did he make that throw? Like, I think his calmness in the face of like close games and really like being under pressure. I think he's like one of the better quarterbacks. Say him and that SIU quarterback that's there now. I forgot his name, number 8, but. He reminds me a lot of him, just like a guy that's not the biggest dude in the world or the fastest dude in the world, but like when it counts, like he can make a play happen. So you could really never count him out. And I think that, if you're making like a leaderboard for our scout report, like he is number 1, right? Like if you can rattle him, like you can rattle this whole team.
Yeah, and he's got 663 passing yards already. Like I said, Zybarth is their leading rusher at 216. Belquist is averaging close to 300 yards already. So that's averaging roughly 100 yards a game through the air. That's pretty good. Leading tackler, Wyatt Pedigo, he's number 59. And then Ben McEnroe, he's let's see, Ben McEnroe, I believe I got his name right. McNaboe, rather, Ben McNaboe. He was preseason All Missouri Valley at DN. So he's number 18. Want to keep an eye out for those names. Those will probably show up in the stat sheet. Hopefully we can nullify them. But they're going to get theirs. And then something that we should really talk about, they run an odd front, right? So 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers, and then nickel kind of personnel with the DBs in there like that, because they like to blitz and send a lot of heat. But they added Jeffrey Griffin Jr. from Northern Illinois, number 0, 300-pound defensive lineman. He's that nose tackle type position that they've got. He's going to be a force because he's big body, bigger to move, different than years past. They also added a transfer from New Mexico, Saltonstall. He's going to be someone to kind of keep an eye on as well as they start to rotate more bodies. Jake Saltonstall. He's got 4 tackles on the year, but 6'4", 270. So kind of more your typical size that they like to go with at the D-line, but force nonetheless. Again, they've got guys from South Dakota, from New Mexico, from Northern Illinois, from Purdue. They dabbled in the transfer portal for sure this past year, and it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, definitely interested to see how the Northern Illinois guy plays. Like, if you're a zero nose and an odd front, you got to be a dude. You know what I mean? So
it's a good point. Explain a little bit why you got to be a dude.
So you can't be too slow and you can't be too fast because you're kind of reading the center and giving, whatever he gives you. But at the same time, like, you're probably getting double teamed more often than not, right? So if they get movement off the ball on you, like, that's an easy 3-4 yards. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, like, you would need a bigger guy there, but not just like a big guy that's just going to stand there and eat up the center, but a guy that can also move in case, they try and reach him, or whether it's a pass pro, because in pass pro, you're getting 3 guys at the same time. So, like, you really got to be like a guy if you're going to want to get back there. You know what I mean? So, and that's something that you and I did a lot of when I was in college, because usually at nose, they had like a dude like Brinkman. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see how the Jacks kind of go up against that, because I don't know. I don't think that they've seen an odd front yet this year. But I mean, our guys are all experienced. They know how to handle that. But it'll be interesting to see how our interior 3 offensive linemen handle it.
Yeah, it one of the things is when you're playing straight up out of a 3-4, that nose guard is expecting to kind of eat up the center and also the 2 A gaps kind of. It's a kind of a gap exchange because they do a lot of slanting and stuff like that, which is great to run at if you can, just wash them and then get up to second level, whatever's left at the second level. So look for a lot of that. I hope we run at them a lot, but when they're blitzing as well, you can also eat through the air, because if you throw into the blitz, there's usually a void where they're blitzing from. So a lot of good things that I expect to see from our offense. But it will be interesting as they've added bigger bodies. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out against our offensive line. They've had, just kind of run through their schedule. They were on a bye week last week as well. So we don't necessarily benefit from the advantage, kind of like we did against Montana State, where we had, a couple extra days of preparation because Montana State didn't play on Thursday. They played on a Saturday. We played on a Thursday. So we were able to kind of benefit from preparation that way. They played a close one against Northern Arizona. Granted, it was at home, so their only away game thus far was Boise, which they took a big L late in that one, 42-18. Northern Arizona, they won 37-22. Northern Arizona just put it on Montana pretty good. So Montana, not necessarily what all the hype train was expecting from them and the fighting Bobby Hawks out there.
Just a quick point on Montana. I'm sorry, because I just thought about this. For what their coach said in the 2020 season, where he was like, "It don't count if we didn't play," for y'all not to make even the semifinals, bro, that you should be ashamed of yourself, bro. Because, like, what? Trying to discount what all these teams did that played in the spring and all that because your team wasn't playing. You're gonna say that it doesn't count if you were playing? Like, bro, come on now.
Yeah.
Like,
that's kind
win
of
the
an
conference
L.
first.
Yeah, I heard a little bit of his press conference when they were talking about Idaho State coming in, and he's a great coach. Bobby Hawk had a little hiatus from Montana and went to UNLV and had some other stops and then returned. But he was the head coach when the Jacks played him in the 2009 playoffs. He definitely knows how to get his guys prepared. He's a Montana guy. I believe he's had a kid on the roster as well, but just kind of has a weird edge to him. He doesn't like to equate FBS and FCS. He doesn't like the nomenclature. He thinks it's all just football, which is all well and good. But the reality is FBS has 20 additional scholarships, 22. They got 85. We have 63. So it is different. So
yeah,
there's this weird chip or pride or bravado that kind of comes out in some of his press conferences, which is all well and good. He's earned the right, but they definitely talked a lot of game to struggle against a D2 program and then to kind of lay an egg against Northern Arizona. So
Yeah, like come on,
Montana's
bro.
got a lot of work to do. They're kind of licking their wounds, but yeah. So Northern Arizona, the effing Hawks or the Undies, they got a they got a dub against Northern Arizona, and then of course Drake 55-7. If you like to do the transitive property stuff, we beat Drake 70-7. So we're able to put up quite a few more points. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what translates on the field at home. I'm glad we're not playing in Grand Forks. Listening to that,
Yeah,
they're loud as ever, man. They got a great home field advantage. This is a sellout. This is yet another sellout. I think that's 3 for us so
yeah.
far already. So the
We have a
rabid,
home field advantage too. It's good to
that's
see
right.
finally.
I'm going to coin it the rabid den because those
Let's
fans were
go.
rabid, frothing at the mouth. Student section was getting live against Montana State. I expect nothing but the same against the North Dakota Fighting Hawks. So it'll be cool to see how they show up and show out this weekend. And it'll be needed too, because third down situations, whether it's short or long, you hear that crowd, you start to get a little more antsy. It's hard
Yeah.
for O linemen to hold their water, and then that could pay dividends in the sack game because that's a big area we need to improve. I like what you said, but we got to get home. Got to get home this week.
And I think there's and there's some guys missing. I think one guy that I'm really excited to see, and obviously I'm a little bit biased because he's 55 and he was my mentee when I was my last mentee I had. But Aaron Wolfkale is a guy that came on really late last year. Is kind of a more dynamic pass rusher, more in the vein of Caleb Sanders. And Coach Smith was really hype on him before he left, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Like even all the guys I was talking to, they're like, "Oh yeah, no, Wolfkill's doing good. He's winning in one-on-ones. Like Coach Smith's going to put him out there." So I think he had a foot injury in fall camp. I'm really excited to see how he plays this year, though.
Yeah, sophomore out of Gilbert, Arizona. It'll be good to see what he does. Randy K, has he suited up this year? I know he had a good get off, good burst off the edge. I'd like to see what he's
I
got.
don't, I don't believe so. I believe he was injured. Don't coin me though, but I do
Yeah,
believe he was injured. I'm excited to see. And a lot of it is going to be can we get in like straight up pass situations? You know what I mean? Where it's because I think for a lot of Montana State, like we didn't get a whole bunch of third and longs. Like obviously we got to do our job in the run game first, but I believe if we're put in that situation, you get Cade Trevere, Quinn Hicks, Caden Johnson, Zach Wilson. Like they're really deep at D line this year, right? And it's going to be good to see them really lean on the other guys they have, but. I'm excited to see what they have for Valley play. I'm sure they got a lot of stuff drawn up too, so it'll be fun to
definitely. It'll
watch.
be good to see how it shakes out. I mean, on the other side of the ball too, for North Dakota, they said they got 9 guys they feel comfortable rotating in and out. So we'll see which chain gang can kind of step up
Yeah,
and man the ships here. Brian Williams, I'm looking forward to him, seeing what he's gonna do. Jared DePriest, of course, he's really stepped it up this year. He's
I
so
believe so
physical at the
too.
point of contact, really just bullying guys, kind of trying to be that guy who kind of shoulders some of the load left by Caleb Sanders, the Colonel
Yeah,
doing his thing. And then Max Balloon, he's huge. So hopefully he can, be a big
yeah,
presence, number 93 there. Cade Tervier, hopefully he can kind of get off the schneid and become playoff Cade that we've known in
yeah,
come to love so much, off the edge, being a force in terms of rushing the passer. So a lot to like and a lot to look forward to coming up. I want to see Ruperta and uh, Peterson step up as well. What I'd like to
yeah,
see is maybe moving them around, bumping them down to the inside, because I believe Peterson was a D tackle at Iowa State. So I kind of want to
yeah.
see what they do with his length and
They
his size.
they play that kind of odd front too, like a true odd front though, where it's like
Yeah.
you know nose then 4 eye 4 eye. So he's
Hmm.
not he would be uncomfortable, playing inside, playing against the guard, and reading those kind of blocks from in there, but. I think they really want to keep him at DN just because at D tackle right now, like we got guys that like your Ryan Van Marls and your Jared DePriest, like how stout they are in the run and like how much run heavy, power heavy teams you're gonna get. You know what I mean? Like you kind of feel like if I have a DN that could play D tackle, I'd like him out there playing D end against a team like North Dakota State or
Yeah,
UNI. You know what I mean?
perfect analogy, especially when you're looking at, the teams we got on the slate this year. Illinois State, they like to run the ball. Of course, they're going to try to air it out with Annexstad being healthy. The Gopher
Yeah,
transfer, he showed out last week. They got a good dub against Lindenwood, who's a transitional FCS school. We've played them as well. They're well coached. They got some good talent. But yeah, that's a good point. I think that'll be something to kind of keep an eye on. And then obviously Bach coming back, he's going to clean up a lot of stuff.
yeah,
Are they going to limit his reps? I guess maybe we'll see with the flow of the game. Like that they don't really disclose injury information, so we don't really know the full story on what's been up with him. So that's kind of good. But if he's healthy,
yeah,
he's going to roll, and he's a big difference maker. Remember, last year this is the game that he injured his leg and I think had a fractured fibula. So
yeah,
I know he's going to be antsy and ready to get back and knock off some of the rust.
for sure. It's gonna be fun to see him again. But I don't think we got to talk again about my guy Tucker Large, dude. Like I'm so excited to watch him play again. Like obviously like I love watching the D line play, but like he is a dude that I just kind of try and keep an eye on at least like once every drive. I mean, like let me see what Tucker does this play, and like he never disappoints. You know what I
No,
mean?
he's a
Like
game changer, man. Whether it's the ball in his hand coming up and fitting on runs, or just playing tight coverage down the field, he's really someone to watch. Um, just kind of came out of nowhere too on the scene, so it's kind of
yeah,
exciting. I believe he's a Sioux Falls kid too, wasn't he? A Roosevelt guy.
yeah. Mason will tell you. Mason will tell you. When he first got to, like, I was just like, oh, dude, Tucker Large is. I was thinking he's talking big stuff, but Tucker's kind of living up to all the hype Mason was building. So I mean, it's awesome to see. You know what I mean?
That is cool. Yeah, and then our DBs, like again, watching Daishawn be physical in the run game. I mean, he's such a presence. I don't want to get too far ahead, but I really like to see him get a shot at the next level because what he does in the run game, if he can continue to take steps in man coverage out there on an island, sky's the limit for that kid. And
Definitely.
you got guys like Dodderman stepping up. I saw him get a lot more run last week or 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago. We're just loaded at safety. You got Reeder, got Herder, got Tucker Large, Juice, Matthew Durant. So got a
Happy
lot of
birthday to Matthew Durant, by the way. Happy birthday, gang.
happy birthday, man. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Playing at home, you played them at home your senior year. Was there a difference in feel from Grand Forks to
Uh,
you?
I do think so because, like, at that point they still had Otis Weah, and he was like a really dynamic running back and a load to bring down. But I think they kind of played it with a different kind of edge at home. I think, like there were certain times in the game, like my senior year, where I felt like, oh, these guys are dejected. Like they're not, like you could kind of tell, but like when they're at home, like it was like a never say die kind of attitude. Like
Yeah.
when they blocked that punt, I think we were up at that point, like and they just ate that and just ran with it. But I think being in Brookings and around a full crowd, that
Yeah.
the way they've been this year, I don't know how they're going to handle that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
Yeah.
excited to see the fans bring it, and I'm excited to see the boys bring it to them this week too.
Yeah. And I know with the COVID year and people coming back for extended playing time, I know they do still probably have a confidence that they can beat the Jacks. I mean, any team can be beat on any given day,
Right.
but I'm sure that bears some excitement from the elders on that roster who are gonna kind of bring that mentality in. But they are night and day different outside the Alaris Center, which is interesting to see because I don't know if that's a function of again that recruiting type that they've got to recruit a certain type because it's hard to get them into Grand Forks and get the guys they need. So they do kind of recruit like the triple option type schools out there. So I don't know if it's that and they're just outmatched on the road or what, but they definitely feed off that energy. So do
Yeah.
we. So that's really exciting. It's exciting to see because we've really turned a corner as a fan base. Everybody's getting behind this team. This national title defense has been really exciting to watch so far. And people should really take note. There are some absurd polls put out by people who actually purportedly watch the FCS, but they favored Montana even after the close win that they got on against D2 Ferris State, I believe it was. And then they bumped North Dakota State above us. Meanwhile, Montana State goes out and absolutely smacks a school 40-0. So I think that 4-point win looks a little bit better when it shows up. So it's going to be interesting to see how we make a run here through Valley Play. Any other thoughts coming in? Things you want to see before we dive into like predictions and players of the game?
What I would like to see, I want to see Jaden kind of come on heavy. Honestly, like with how many receivers we have now, and like there's with Griffin Wilde and the Yankee brothers and everyone coming in now. I'd really like to see. I'm curious to see how we're going to use. You know what I mean?
Curious to see how we're going to use Wilde and everybody else.
Yeah, now that Jaden's back, we kind of have our whole deal back together. I'm excited to see kind of who fits where and who gets how many plays. So it'll be fun to watch.
No, it'll be good to see how they spread the ball around. I think this is a game I personally want to see Amar go off. I know, Isaiah's going to get his in short yards. He's going to move the sticks. I'd like to see us possess the ball because against a team like this that does a lot of gimmicky gadget stuff, long sustained drives, winning the time of possession and winning the field position game is going to be crucial as it is every week. But specifically against teams that are outmatched athletically, you got to beat them with scheme and beat them with just sensibility. Possess the ball. Don't get cute. Do what you do. And that's what's great about coming off the improvement week by week, working on fundamentals. So I think that'll be cool to see that translate here coming forward. I want to see Amar get off. Like I'm saying, he's just continued to take steps. Angel had a huge game at Target Field. So we'd like to see how they decide to implement him. There's some other things that they could potentially do. Mark has looked great running the ball, but looking to see what Chase has done. Do they sprinkle him in Valley Play with some quarterback design, just pure runs, bringing Mark off onto the sideline and rolling Chase out there? We'll see. We also are going to see, I think Zach Hines has done really great with body control in the passing game this year. Obviously, he's a solid blocker, getting up to next level, washing guys down. So it'll be good to see him assert his will. Got the Swiss Army knife, Mike Morgan. And then, of course, we got to talk about it. Number 44, catching Kevin catching his first touchdown pass. I think, is that the first pass he caught too? I want to say.
Yeah. And I gotta say, Kev, it was a great celebration too, gang. Happy for you, brother.
Clean. I wouldn't at first when he was celebrating, he was just like looking at the stands with the fans right there. And then I'm glad that he realized, like, hey, we're in a ballpark. I just swung the fences. So that was really cool to see too. Just good stuff all around. But it's gonna be a little tighter competition here coming up in the Valley Play. So hopefully that can translate to maybe we can add him in as a weapon. You never know. Just showing your ability throughout your whole roster, that only adds more tape to look at as these defenses look to prepare for us. So really good stuff all the way around. The wizard or the mad scientist, whatever you want to call him, Zach Luan's got stuff drawn up. So it'll be interesting to see how they sprinkle that in. I want to look to see Wilde's he's caught touchdowns in each of his first few games. It'll be cool to see what he's able to do against Valley competition and see if he can continue to just make strides in the passing game. Want to see Jackson and Jaden, continue to improve. Jaden get healthy, but do want to shout out Jackson Yankee passed Dallas Goddard on the all-time receptions chart for South Dakota State. So we got to shout him out for that. That's incredible. And then I did see a wild stat posted by Craig Haley in The Analyst. The Jackrabbits, dating all the way back to last season, have scored on 54 straight red zone attempts. So
my God,
it's incredible. Or 57 rather, I think it is, but 57 red zone attempts. And 44 of those were touchdowns. 13 of them were field goals. So that's
My God,
that's
that's a
pretty
stat.
it's pretty salty. So it'd be 57. Yeah, that's incredible. So more momentum to try to continue to springboard us into this Valley play here.
Yes,
And
sir.
I know, like, from a personal standpoint, the game in the spring should have been won by the Jacks if we didn't shoot
Yeah.
ourselves in the foot. It's more, that game was more about, not to make it Jack centric, but it's just the truth. It was more lost by the Jacks than it was won by UND, especially considering how easily and effortlessly we moved the ball. I believe Jaden Yonke had a drop touchdown pass that would have extended it to a multiple score lead. I know it would have been like 14 points, possibly 17. I can't remember specifically in that spring season. Very similar roster still in terms of the upperclassmen. So yeah, in terms of seeing Mark avenge that lone FCS loss, like, I love seeing this every year. So it'll be exciting. Predictions? You got a specific offensive player before we move into the defense?
I got to go Amar again because I remember
Yeah.
last year Amar went crazy on him. So yeah, I'll go with Amar one more time, man.
Okay. All right. Amar. It really depends on game plan. I always get
Yeah.
kind of stuck here. It's easy to go Isaiah. It's easy to go Amar because I do think we'll run at him. I'm going to go Jackson. Jaden went off in the return game last year. It was so clutch. And then, of course, Tucker went off. So you never know if Zach could have mutual success. I'm going to go Amar too, not to double up, but I think he's just tailor-made for this type of a defense.
For sure.
And then switching to defense, who you got?
Get my guy Adam Bach back. He finna get his lick back on him. I can't wait to watch him back out there.
I love it. I'm going to go Stallbird in this one. Stallbird is like built for this because he's that nickel type linebacker, but he's got real good length. I think he could just be a problem and cause fits. I think our linebackers have done okay so far this year. I think there's a lot on the table for them to continue to take steps forward, especially clean up their scraping and clean up some of their tackling and things of that nature. But also, I want to see our blitz packages because if we're not getting there from the D-line perspective, we can at least get there from an LB perspective. So I want to see more of that start to take shape here in Valley play. Yeah. So I'm going to go with Isaiah Stallbird. Now we look at score predictions. We've been real close all year so far.
30-17.
30-17. That's a pretty good one. I'm going to go, I think we can get, they've been close pretty much. I'm going to go 34-21. 34-21.
Jacks, obviously.
I like that. No. Yeah, of course, Jacks.
Jacks, obviously, guys.
Yeah, I try not to be a homer, but we're never picking against the Jacks.
It's hard to not be a homer though when they're playing like this.
I just love football. That's kind of the big reason I do this. And we should tell people just to go back and rewind a little bit when we're talking. Iowa State runs a true odd front. The 2 4 eyes, those are inside eyes of the tackle, right? So you have your 3 tech is outside shade of the guard from a defensive line perspective, and then your 4 eye is inside shade of the tackle, right?
Yep.
And so this team won't necessarily run that. They'll run more of kind of like stunts and slants.
And I bet it's kind of like what the Jacks do sometimes. You and I did it too, like where you have like an overhang DN too. So it's not like a true odd front where it's like 4 linebackers. Like you'd have like if he's considered a linebacker, just like a rover. Up. Yeah. So I'm not quite sure if that's what they do, but Iowa State is like a true where it's like 3-4 kind of defense.
Yep. No, it's cool. It'll be cool to see. Like, if nothing more, it's like kind of like the Mike McDaniel stuff where he's like, if we're doing the same thing as everybody else on offense, that favors the defense, right? Yeah. So that's what I love about Zach Luan too. Coach Luan does a good job of being us, but being creative. And then same thing for the Hawks on the defensive side of the ball. They're very creative. Same thing on offense. They're very creative. So it's fun to see a little bit of a different stuff, and it prepares us to springboard into playoffs. And then also, some Valley teams are multiple, like the UNIs. on defense. Multiple meaning they'll maybe run some 4-3, they'll maybe run
Yeah.
some 3-4 and mix it up, keep the offense off kilter. So we got our predictions, we got our player of the games. It's pretty much it for this week. It's abbreviated pod because we didn't have a game to recap per se, but anything else you want to tell the people before we get off?
Oh, well, I'll be there this week. If you see me, say what's up. I'm excited to watch the boys kick some ass, and it's going to be a good one.
I love it. I love it. Just again, before we wrap, get to the game this weekend. They're honoring Danny Batten, Hall of Fame inductee, former South Dakota State Jackrabbit, great linebacker, D-end, graduated in 2009 and was drafted in the 6th round of the Buffalo Bills. Got our Pro Jacks and NFL Jacks doing big things. If you guys got to watch Monday Night Football last night, Dallas Goedert showed out, did his thing in the run game, pass game. The Eagles look strong. My Vikings suck. You want to talk about your Bears?
No, please. No. I'd rather talk about Christian Roseboom playing his ass off. That was fun to see too.
Yeah, of course. I was kind of toggling back and forth. Roseboom doing big things, man. We got a lot of guys out there in the league doing big things. At one point, I saw a 30 number out there, and I was like, "Is that Don? Did Don get called up?" So, yeah. A lot of guys doing big things, and of course, Griff in the CFL doing his thing as well.
Oh yeah, Griff and Sanders and Aaron Johnson, all three of them are out there.
And Winicky,
yep,
still doing it big out there. So the program is definitely in good hands, and it's only on an upward trend. So it's exciting to see. Want to shout out our sponsors one more time: Cottonwood Coffee, Brookings, South Dakota. Go say what's up to Jacob and the team over there. And then also, I forgot in the opening, but shout out to True North Retirement. They do a great job protecting your assets wherever stage of life you're in, whether you're young and looking to retain more money and pay less in taxes, whether you're looking to make savvy investments, or whether you're trying to transition some of your assets to your family for late stage of life. They got you covered. That's True North Retirement. Check them out in the description of this pod. And then with that, man, say what's up to Stack when you see them. Get loud. Wear your blue and yellow and go big, go blue,
go Jacks.
Go Jacks.